Hello and welcome to another episode of FPL Apprentice. I was nearly said FPL Journey to 10K. That is the old Brendan. We'll keep getting this confused, I imagine, Matt. But thank you for joining us. There's a couple of reasons this is special. But before I jump into that, let me just introduce my co-host, one of the best FPL players to have ever played the game. You know this spiel by now, but I'm going to say it anyway. Matt Corbs, current Fantasy Football Fix Elite 11 manager. Uh, Number 9 in the world at the minute, current world number 1, and he's here to teach us all how to play FPL better. Matt, how's your weekend been so far?
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, thanks for that kind of welcome again. It comes with the usual caveats. That's not my actual rank. It's selective. Being selective with the Hall of Fame sort of kind of like pick that you've chosen there. But yeah, good weekend. Good weekend, and I think you shared some good news with me that I squeezed in a green arrow this week, and
Yeah,
a few last minute bonus point changes went in my direction as well. So
you
yeah,
did
ending on
indeed.
a high with that news. You all good?
Exactly. All good, mate. All good. Just saying hello to Skip. Give us a little wave in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Skip. But yeah, special episode for a couple of reasons. This number one, it's episode 50. I don't know whether we thought we'd get here when we started, but episode number 50. It's also the first time we've done this live, so thanks for joining us live. And more importantly, and probably more excitingly, it is a wildcard special. So we're going to go through our wildcard teams, see who we've picked. Very early stage. I know we've got 5 days to play around with it, but just be good to dive in and get your thoughts. But yeah, let's just get on with showing the current scores for game week 5. I'm really disappointed with this. I'm doing this through StreamYard for anybody watching, and I built in transitions in my PowerPoint presentation. The StreamYard doesn't do the transitions, which is a real
What
shame.
did you do? Did you expect to like fade out the little kind of
I've
like
done it all.
sort of
Fades,
yeah,
fades in, fades
yeah.
out, works, but it doesn't have any of it. But yeah, as you'll see, we've both ended up on green arrows, and it's actually a little bit better than it looks on the screen, Matt. So I've said that you've gone from 1.7 million to 1.55 million. But those last minute bonus changes for anybody watching that doesn't know, Rogers has got an extra bonus point. Smith Rowe and Solanke have actually gone down in bonus points. But it actually means that you've jumped to 1.47 and a
Oh,
game
okay.
week score of
I'll,
66, maybe. Yeah,
I'll,
talk us through it.
I'll take that. Well, I was going to say, congrats to you actually with a big old score. But I'll talk about mine first. I think it's more, your team is more interesting. So going into the week, really, I wanted to roll with a free transfer. I didn't really see. I knew I was going to wild card in game six, right, game week 6, right. So I didn't want to kind of force a one game week move. I thought that'd be a bit wasteful, and I was betting that both Pedro and Isaac would start. Obviously Pedro didn't, but he came on for 1 point, so fine. Isaac started. Obviously disappointing game there. I think the option I was lining up potentially was Isaac to Solanke. And Solanke was unlucky not to score more. He looked really good, as did Spurs. We'll talk about Madison later. He was looking kind of really good as well. But I decided not to do that. So I haven't lost too many points there. I think you generally, at any given single game week, transfers worth 4 points, right? So
Yeah.
bit of a par finish there, not kind of moving for Solanke. But yeah, kind of rest of the team, like I think, yeah, overall kind of a bit of a average week. I think myself and others needed Salah to go big in that Bournemouth fixture, and he's got a return. I think, yeah. Do you remember the match a few years ago when Liverpool battered them 9-0, and he got
9-0.
no attacking returns at all. So at least he got a clean sheet point and an assist. But that was kind of disappointing. I think, yeah, we needed him to go pretty big. But yeah, there was some kind of like positives, right? So Henderson. Now, this is the thing with 4.5 keepers; they can get this random haul, right? So he played really well. Like Palace were lucky overall. I think, yeah, Manchester United battered them really, and yeah, obviously got Bruno Fernandes, my team, who blanked, but again, he put out some really good underlying stats and was looking good. Had a couple of like one-on-ones, but created a few good chances for the likes of Xerxes, hit the bar, right? So yeah, kind of like. Yeah, Bruno didn't score, but Henderson like got the net benefit of that. I think the disappointing thing was like even like this is like him like being on troll mode. Even with all those saves, you managed to get a yellow card, and through that yellow card, you lose a bonus point as well, right? So yeah, kind of like I kind of wanted more, but you got to be happy with that return from Henderson. Then back three, Concert, Porro, and Robertson. So could afford Trent when I made a move 2 game weeks ago to bring in a Liverpool defender. Robertson, yeah, cool, happy with the 6 points. I mean, didn't get too punished by Trent. I'll take a 5-point difference over 2 game weeks. Yeah, kind of Spurs. Porro's an interesting one, right? Because he's in some games he's looking super attacking from a positioning point of view all the time, but Maddison being in the starting 11 and being back in the groove, it does really harm his actual chances, and like that defense is just like terrible, right? And kind of really they could have got Vicario red carded right when he handled outside the box as well. So yeah, kind of Porro 2 points. Fine, and Conte got lucky in some ways with a goal, right? You got to be
Take it.
A set piece kind of goal, but I mean, like how Aston Villa conceded again, like it was disappointing. They're just finding ways to concede a goal. I think their defense looked pretty tight. They're not giving too many chances away, but the chances they do give, the last 3 game weeks they've been conceding a goal. But got to be happy with that last minute goal. Rogers came through, 2 assists, obviously, and now 3 bonus. So like kind of 10 points. So you're kind of happy with that. And I think it just shows patience, right? He's a 5 million midfielder. What do you expect? He was playing very advanced for a good team in Villa. So like that's you got to be happy. If he gets a return every 3 game weeks, you got to be kind of really happy. Spoke about Salah, got a return, but disappointed. And then Eze and Fernandez, like the Chuckle brothers. I watched that game. I think it was the evening game on Saturday, right? So I kind of I was watching that, like I was doing some other stuff, but I was kind of like keeping an eye on it. But like, yeah, both Eze and Fernandez were like evidently both the best players in their respective teams. But yeah, both had pretty much like one-on-one chances, good chances in the box. Yeah, Eze had a few where he like passed it into the keeper. He had a few where he hit it just wide. Same story for Fernandez. What I'd say with Eze is that Palace have just looked quite bad. I would say the first 5 game weeks, they've not looked like they've continued to form from last year for whatever reason, which I'm quite surprised at. And Eze just has like 4 or 5 men on him every time he receives the ball, right? And without penalties, I don't know whether it means that we should be viewing him in the same light. Up front, kind of Isaac, Pedro, blanked, and then Haaland got his 9 points. So yeah, a decent game week, I think. Saka got his assist. So yeah, I went bet I made the first 5 game weeks was go without Saka, and Salah will outscore him significantly. That hasn't been the case actually. Saka's like really kind of kept quite close actually. He's been chipping away those set pieces, and then Gabriel's quite highly owned, right? I think probably a lot of people benched, but yeah, obviously that goal hurt. I think the thing that hurt the most is just like people who've got like a Jota player and then got Smith Rowe off the bench again. That guy, it was actually a better performance in terms of like underlines, but like he seems to get 1 or 2 chances a game and then is scoring them. So like super efficient at the moment. So yeah, that guy at the moment has been a bit of a killer for me. But yeah, kind of like a positive game week overall. I had a little bit of luck with Conser Henderson. So yeah, gotta like it. But yeah, mate, congrats with your big score.
Well,
what was your move? What was your? I think you could tell the move, but he's at
that's it. We think my score's decent. So 77. I appreciate that Rogers' bonus isn't on this. Same for you. But Skip in the comments got 86. Skip, who did you have as captain? Skip. I'm assuming is that the difference, or did you have Madison or somebody? Let us know. But yeah, that's exactly it. My trade was Isaac to Watkins. I don't believe Eddie Howe when he talks to the media ever. I think the guy's full of crap. He plays mind games. And there's something I read in it, and I was thinking, I had Pedro and Isaac, and if both were out, I was going to end up having Winks, right?
Yeah.
Got no interest in having Winks. So I decided I'm gonna sell 1 or 2, and I just felt Pedro was going to be more fit. Now, when Isaac started, I panicked, obviously. But the reason I bought Watkins in is Watkins for me, and the stats back it up. He's been unlucky not to score more. In terms of behind Haaland, he's been the forward with the best XGI data, and I'll touch on that in a bit.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of wanting them in my wildcard as well, not to give the game away too much
Not a bad bet.
till
Not a
later
bad
on.
bet.
Yeah, so I thought his price was going to go up. I could afford him. He's playing at home to Wolves, so he's the guy. But yeah, he got me 4 points. So that's made a net 0 basically.
Mhm.
I've used a transfer on it, but 4 points. Rest of my team, I'll go through. I'll mainly focus on the differences. So yeah, I had Trent instead of Robertson. I've had Trent from the off. He's the best attacking option for Liverpool. For
Mhm.
me, from a Robertson does take some set pieces to be fair, but Trent and free kicks for that matter. But Trent's ball's delicious, and he has been, all season looking like he's going to deliver a haul. He finally did. He nearly scored an own goal. I don't know whether you
Yeah,
saw
it's
the
probably
game,
one of
mate.
his worst performances, attacking and defending. Right, ironically, the one
Honestly,
that gets him a nice little points haul. But yeah, he's
expected assists of 0.13, but expected goals 0.00. But ended up bringing home the points. So pretty happy with that. Yeah, Concert scored despite. I got bonus points despite conceding. Rodgers 2 assists and 3 bonus points in the end. Isaac Watkins worked out, and then my Brighton assets, not Pedro. I know we had a bit of a joke, and I was going to go for Welbeck, and I bottled it. Wish I hadn't. But Matoma was my real differential there, and he came back with an assist. So pretty happy with that. Things I'm not so happy about. Haaland's at over 100% ownership, so him scoring 3 bonus points hurts a little.
Mhm.
Eze not returning again despite a high expected goal involvement, 0.66 this week. And my captain didn't quite deliver how I wanted him to. So let's skip, just so we're all aware. He captained Salah as well, but he has Luis Diaz, who obviously
Yeah.
got 2 goals. And then Stuart. All right, John. Welcome to the stream, John. John Stewart's on. Somebody I've known for a long time. Disaster tweet for him. Bottom of the FPL Apprentice League, of which there are 63 players. I didn't realize you were bottom, John. Hoping this insight expertise will guide him to make some better decisions. So no pressure, Matt.
That is an
Um,
achievement in its own right.
yeah, yeah, that's it. I think you should play for bottom, John. Are you in it? Are you in it? Let's skip. If not, make sure you join. It'll be on the next screen. I'll tell you how to join our division. Actually, if you get an 86 every week, don't join because you'll be ahead of me and Matt. But yeah, overall, I can't complain. Solid green arrow. I finished overall rank this game week. The game week rank of 781, which actually takes me up to 755. But you're slightly higher than the 1.5. It thinks here you got what your 1.7 million, 1.4 million. Sorry, mate. Overall,
No,
so a green arrow for you as well. So I can
and
never complain with the greens.
no, for sure. You got a. It didn't feel like a great week, right? So yeah, kind of grinding away with a green arrow is good when it feels like a little bit underwhelming and a relative captaincy failure, right? It's always good to get those greens in those weeks. Do you have any surprises this week? Well, observations on players or teams that surprised you?
Teams that surprised me. So the Arsenal defense. I know they conceded twice today, right? But that second half when they were down to 10 men, I don't know. We knew the Arsenal defense was good, but Jesus Christ, that was something else against probably the best attacking team in world football if they turn it on. So that a reason to bring that up is I was pretty set on going one defender, Saka and Havertz. After watching that today, I might be tempted to go for 2. There was somebody that I thought would take a penalty that didn't this game week. It wasn't Eze. That was last game week.
Gibbs White Wood took it. So agree.
White.
Wood,
yeah.
Wood. He's banned now as well. But I think he's pretty much a dead asset now, right? Whereas he was a decent option if he was on penalties every set piece, but he's not on corners anymore. He's not on penalties. He was a bit of a niche, right? He was a bit of a obscure player, but I think a lot of people who like data would go for Gibbs White, but he's like kind of dead. I think is kind of lessened again. I think Jackson
Chelsea?
For me, Jackson was an interesting player. So Chelsea, are they good? Are they not? I think obviously last season they were better than their position and points than their points suggested. They've been all right the last couple of game weeks, haven't they? Actually, so it's an interest. I think their fixtures are kind of like turning for the worst, but they look good and I think tongue in cheek when people were doing game week 3, game week 4 wildcards, right? I'd say Jackson was a must-have, and he's getting great data, but he's converting, so he's looking pretty good. So yeah, Jackson's an interesting one. As is Sanchez. Sanchez is obviously looking. He had a penalty save last game week, but another decent. Well, you got a 10-point haul again, right? So he's looking decent. So I think Chelsea and Jackson are interesting options. And then I think it's just he's a bit of a one where it's like, just because players have scored loads of points previous game weeks doesn't mean that they can be guaranteed, right? So it goes for likes of Rodgers, just because he was blanking doesn't mean he's suddenly a bad asset. And likes of Vardy, Calvert-Lewin, they're not going to score every single game week, right? So it's just one of those ones where it's kind of like nicely balanced. It feels like Sak is like the only guy who can kind of churn away with a kind of return. Arsenal's defense looked good. Reyes looking very, very good, right? So didn't get I wasn't expecting, like, statistically say, they've got lucky clean sheets and points, but like he's deserved those points from pure performances, right? The amount of saves that he's made. So I didn't expect that at the beginning of the season. I thought he'd be either 1 or 2 points or 6 points, but his ceiling is pretty, and his floor is pretty high this year. So he's looking insane. Havertz played as a striker again. I know.
Yeah, it's quite happy to see that.
The red card changed, but like Havertz, I thought like, am I surprised actually? Well, against City, they'd probably play more conservative players there rather than Havertz in the midfield. I don't actually. I don't think there's too much to gain given that they were playing City.
Okay, I was just happy to see, like, is Havertz seen as the Odegaard replacement, or was it the Rice replacement? And as Rice was back, and he then went as the front. I was reading into it that he's going to be back as a striker.
Yeah, he played as striker as this game, right? But I guess the kind of it looks like he's got that kind of like nailed. Unknown whether Odegaard out kind of makes them weaker as an attack, though, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, and then Trossard's out.
Yeah,
that was good. That was good. Two reds in 3 weeks for Arsenal, for kicking the ball away. So it's clearly Arteta needs to teach.
Discipline issue, isn't it?
But that's spot on. Well, yeah, good greens. Just to back up your point on Chelsea before we move on to the league. Chelsea's fixtures: Brighton, Forest, and we know how much I love the Forest defence. Liverpool, Newcastle, Man United, Arsenal.
Yeah.
So not great fixtures, but they did look impressive.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to the league in which Stuart J is bottom. Well, thanks for joining us, even though you are bottom of the league, John. I appreciate that, pal. But this is where we're at. So we have a new leader. I need to sort these slides out, but you'll never walk alone. So the good news is he's clearly a Liverpool fan, SM. So welcome to the league. I know you've been in it before. You've gone up. So 383 points for you, but I've got my eyes on you. But the top 10's on the screen. If you're not in the league and you want to join, then the code is T27ZGC. That's Tango 27 Zulu Golf Charlie. It's not updated since Sunday morning, this league. So to be fair, SM may no longer be top. And it's only fair to say MG15 is Jing top, also on 383. But yeah, this is without today's game. So that might be all. One of me and you might be top, probably not. And you might not be bottom, John.
Close. You got to be close to top 10 now, surely.
339 I'm on. So I'm 20 points, 20 points off top 10. But I'll keep plugging at it. I'll keep plugging. But that then brings us on to Matt versus Dave. Now, I appreciate I ran a episode last week myself, but we did offline decide on some players. You went first. Oh no, did I go first? I went first because every time the person who's gone first, they've lost. So I went first. I went for DCL. He did absolutely nothing. John, who's in the chat, if you're still with us, John's owed Calvert-Lewin for about 3 game weeks and has got absolute points from him. But not this week. So he got 2 points. You then went with Diaz, 1 point. I went Szoboszlai, stolen from you. You usually have him. 3 points for Szoboszlai. And then talk to me about Maddison. Where did that pick? Where was the inspiration for Maddison from? Goal and an assist and 12 points.
I think it was inspired by Solanke. I was looking at Solanke as an option, but then I was like, wow, he's got huge ownership, and I was like, Brentford are a leaky team, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just like decent player, right? I think when you got like an elite players like that under 5%, you got to run with them, right? So
yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I do want to ask the chat if they who is their differential for game week 6. So just to stick to the rules that me and Matt stick to, it has to be owned by 5% or less. Let us know who you'd pick.
And we
in the
can't
chat.
own them, can we? We can't own them either.
We can't own them now. I know we had a little chat offline, and Gibbs White was getting mulled about. Well, he's now obviously been sent off, so he's out the equation. I mean, I'm quite happy for you to take Gibbs White if you want to, mate. I'll let you have him.
Yeah,
if you really want him.
So I'm first, aren't I? This time.
You're first, which means you're going to lose if we go by the way it's been so far.
That's the way. That's the way. I can't even remember who I kind of suggested to you.
I know you first. If you want me to say it,
Evan Nilsson.
That was exactly what it was.
Yeah. Bournemouth. Yeah. So
I can see it. Can see it.
I mean, it's just the kind of home fixture, right? So they've got Bournemouth have got Southampton home, so like easiest game. At the moment, right? They're looking like the weakest team. Evan Nilsson, he's looked all right. Actually, Semenyo and Tavernier have been getting the points, but I think Evan Nilsson's been looking. He's been getting minutes. He's been getting some underlying stats. So, yeah, I'm pretty cool with him. So, yeah,
good pick. Good pick. I'm taking a gamble with my first pick. I'm going for Duran. He's yet to start a game, but what I have noticed in the last couple of weeks is when he's coming onto the pitch, Watkins is staying on, and Emre said something about them both playing together, and that time's going to come. Now the guy just every time he comes on the pitch, he scores. So even if he starts on the bench, he'll probably still get me 5 points. But I think this could be the week in which we see Watkins and Duran both start. That's what I'm hoping anyway. He's away at Ipswich, and I mean this is the only week I'm going to be able to pick. He's at 4.6%, so he just qualifies. Give it a week, he won't qualify anymore. So I think this is the only time one of us will be able to pick him. As a result, I'm gonna go for Duran.
Fair. My second option, I think in the chat I was saying Gibbs White, but obviously that's before we got a red card, and before there's confirmation he was off pens as well. So I'm gonna go McNeil. I am from Everton. Yeah. So an okay fixture against Palace. He's had 3 attacking returns in 5 game weeks. Good numbers as well. Good numbers. So yeah, I fancy. Actually, I can go Calvert-Lewin, can't I?
You can. Well, it depends if you're bringing it. Who knows if you're bringing him in on your wild card or not?
Yeah, it depends. Let's go McNeil because I may end up with Calvert-Lewin on a wild card. So McNeil, I doubt I'm going to have him. So I'll go McNeil to be fair.
Okay.
And you play the same logic as well.
Yeah, I'll play the same logic. John Stewart's jumped in. He would potentially consider dibbling Southampton young lad. He scored this week, didn't he? And got 3 bonus points. So I think he came out of that game with an 11-pointer. For 4.5 million, we'll come on to the wildcard teams after this slide, actually. But a potential replacement for Winks as a 4.5 million pound midfielder.
Is he going to start though? No, that's the thing.
That is the question.
I like the spice, but you want your 4.5 to come in, than you for.
Yeah. I think it's not a bad pick. I'll tell you what my second one is, and you laughed, but I'm sticking with it. I'm going with Tavernier. He's playing Southampton at home, behind Semedo. Semedo, behind Semenya, even if I pick the right team. He seems to be the player that's and to be fair, Evan Nilsson. He seems to be the 3rd best player in that attack from the stats point of view. 0.57 expected goal involvement per 90 for Tavernier, and he seems to get 90 minutes quite regularly as well. So yeah, I want to read them out, and I'm like, it's Evan Nilsson and Dwight McNeil against Duran and Tavernier. doesn't seem like the most exciting week, mates. But it's hard when it's under 5%. The skips come in. He would get Fabio Carvalho at home to West Ham.
Yeah,
As a Liverpool fan, I know Carvalho well.
Yeah, I was considering him. It's like he's had one start though, right? So I don't know if it's like he's the natural replacement with Visser out, and they've shifted things around. I'll have to do a bit more digging on that, but yeah, I think he's a good bet. A good bet on wildcards if you're confident. I mean, there's some good players we're missing, right? I think it's just like I want to go for players that are going to start, like which I didn't do last time with Diaz, but you could go Savinho, right, from Man City, obviously a better player, but will he start?
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, inspiring names all around.
That's it. Well, we'll see how they do. Let's see if we can beat 13 points, right? That's what we got last. That's what you got last time, should I say? But in theory, I should win. So John Duran hat trick is what I'm banking on. But yeah, let's move on to what everybody is actually here for. It's time to talk wildcard, Matt. Now, I think there's no secrets. We'll both hit the button. But let's have a look at before you jump in on this, mate. Right, before I'm going to ask you a question, and this is the point as well for the chat. If you're playing the wild card, or even if you're not, this is the time to smash in your questions. And I'll try not to interrupt you too much, Matt, as you get into the swing of things. But anything that comes in,
Cool,
from the chat, I'm going to be firing at you. But I've got a question before we begin here. How much at this point, now you've hit the wildcard button, how much at this point do you mess about with the team to try and get in players that might go up in value, or keep players that you're going to sell in case they go up in value? You know what I mean? How much do you do that?
I do a fair amount. Like sometimes it comes to bite me in the arse. Like last year, I wildcarded similar quite early in the season, and I got rid of Mbumo for some reason, right? And then I wanted him back in, but I couldn't afford him because I lost value. So I've already got rid of Salah actually. So if I do miraculously want him back, I had him at 12.5. He's now 12.8, right? So I've that'll be pretty annoying. And like, yeah, with my forward line, I've missed a price rise in Jackson as well because I was looking at João Pedro and I was like, oh, he'll start and then he'll be fine. He looks injured. So yeah, I do tinker.
You do,
but I
get some money.
Yeah, well, it's less again money because I think it's very rare that these players are going to rise twice in a week unless they've done exceptionally well. It's more making sure you don't miss out on a price rise and just get kind of like priced out. It's less so making money, like getting someone in to sell them. It's more like, hey, this is a player I may want, so I'm gonna get them in, and kind of like absorb that price rise. But yeah, I think it's very rare that you actually make a little 0.1 profit from that wheeling dealing. I've never managed to do it.
No, the only one that has, because I might sell him, is Rogers. He's jumped to 5.2 overnight. So we'll come on to that when I look at my team.
I think it's hard to find a better bet at that price point.
I'm moving away from the price point. So
fair enough. Fair enough. But anyway, I mean, what I'll do while I'm looking at the teams on screen is probably talk about structurally like the short list of players that I've got, because I think like in terms of locks, there's going to be a couple of locks in everyone's team. Right? I think Haaland is structurally going to be in everyone's team just because of the fixtures coming up, right? And he's just the perma captain option now from game weeks, arguably next game week, but game week 7 onwards for a long time, right? So Haaland will be in everyone's team, and Mbumo will be for similar reasons. Good Brentford fixtures, really good player. Penalties. He'll be in everyone's great price point, so he'll be in everyone's team. Saka will be for similar reasons, right? Next 3 game weeks are really prime for Arsenal, 2 of the promoted teams, and then Bournemouth, right? And he's been chipping away with returns every single game week, right? And he's finding in some games he's looking incredible, other games not so much, but it's finding a way. So Saka will be in everyone's team. I'd imagine someone like Greaves will be in most people's team, so there'll be a 4.0 who starts. Just structurally, it helps with price points. So I think he'll be at a lock, and probably Gabriel, right? Just because of like Arsenal being relentless at set pieces, those great fixtures over the next 3, and obviously he scored twice in 2 game weeks, which does give you a little bit of short term bias. So I think those sort of players will be lock-ins. But then there's a group of players around it, right? So, like for me, looking at goalkeepers, like starting with the less glamorous, I got a short list of 3 players. I'll go for a 4.0 keeper just to kind of bench. So that could be Fabianski, it could be, I don't know even know who Slicker is, but it could be Slicker, could be anyone. But at 4.5 price point, I think Flecken is the best option by far. Like just because that Brentford fixture run and early season results suggest Brentford are conceding shots, but he's saving a fair amount. So I think that's a good sign, right? Because like even if he concedes like he did this week, he can get save points as well. So Flecken, I think, is the best 4.5 option on wildcard. Then I think is kind of Raya or Edison, really, just because of the strength of the defenses, and then the nailedness. I think both kind of like rotation isn't as much an issue in Arsenal's case, but for City, just Edison's going to play every game. I know he's got that troll status. He doesn't really he gets assists sometimes, right? But he doesn't really make many saves, and like City do find a way to kind of concede. But I think Raya and Edison the best bets, and then it's just like, hey, structurally, whether Flecken is what can you do with that extra million? So I think I don't think there's many viable keepers, to be honest. Then from a defense point of view, I think I like a couple of the 1 or 2 4.0 options actually. So I think Greaves is probably the best bet from Ipswich. He'll probably never play, but they've got okay fixtures, right? If you do want to play him, so I think he's perfectly good. He does what you need to do. Like I start him. I think there's 1 or 2 others in there for Ipswich, but I think Greaves is the one that kind of like stands out. The guy used to play for United. I forget his name. Anyway, name escapes. Yeah, the kind of like name escapes people. There's 1 or 2 other like 4.0s from Ipswich should be good. Then Van den Beek is an interesting one from Brentford. He was signed probably as the starting kind of centre back. He's got subbed on his first game, then he started the 2 subsequent great games, and like by all accounts, he's like a better player than the likes of me and whatnot. So I think he's a kind of good option as a 4.0. I would have said Mascara from Wolves, but he looks like he's injured now. So yeah, you've got like a nice little sample size of 4.0s that structurally kind of help your team, and you don't really want to play them ever, but they're there just to kind of like help you with price points. And if they do need to come on, they can kind of tactically come on. Now, I think in terms of 4.5s, I think probably Konsa stands out as the best still, right? Just because of Villa's mixed to good kind of run that they've got. I think you can play centre back, right back, shown some attacking threat, which I wasn't expecting, but him or Pau Torres, I think, are the best of the 4.5s. I'd leave it at that. Then there's a little group of I put Lewis in that bracket as well for Rico Lewis, but it depends on your structure, right? I mean, I don't think you want to be relying on him starting every game week, but he could be interesting. You want to play that risky game of like waiting for leaks with City. Then it's Gabriel, Saliba, Gvardiol, and Trent. And I think Gvardiol, I kind of like him now more than the beginning of the season because Walker started to come in the last couple of games, right? So I think when Walker plays, that typically means Gvardiol plays, and then his main competition in Ake has got like a long-term injury, right? So I think Gvardiol, I think for me is to stand out of the City options. So yeah, I think Gabriel, Saliba, Gvardiol, and Trent, I think are the kind of more premium options. So I think quite a limited sample size there of like defenders that I think are actually viable, right? And I think I'm probably going to go with a lot more money in my defense compared to the beginning of the season. Midfielders, I think, we've spoken about, if you want a 4.5, Vinks is good, right? Because he starts every game, plus the Southampton lads who scored, what was his name? That suggests is the differential.
Dibbling.
So yeah, I think he's a decent option. And then the cheaper price points, I think there's quite a nice amount of like 5 million to 5.5 million players. I don't think you'd want to rely on playing them every single game week, but there's a nice bracket of those players if you do want to be rotating them with fixtures, and there's some interesting rotations, right? So Rodgers, of course, is an option, right? Just because he's playing as a second striker for Villa, right? And he's putting okay numbers up, right? And he's playing 90 minutes every game, and like it seems like the manager kind of likes him. Then I think you've got Carvalho in that bracket for Brentford, if you are confident that he's going to play now that kind of Visser is out. You got Semenyo, who's got nice fixtures the next 2, and he's got bad ones, but like you can bench him. Then that's kind of cool. McNeil, and then I think Ahmad from Manchester United has looked good. Manchester United have been good from an underlying data point of view, from an attacking perspective. He looks like he's been playing most games on the right, and that's his position to lose. So there's some nice options there, like in that kind of.
It's interesting that, wasn't it? Because Garnacho finally got a start, but it was for Rashford, not Ahmad. Ahmad still got the start. That was interesting.
He plays on that. They both want to kind of invert the wingers, don't they? So like, yeah, kind of Rashford and Garnacho would be competing with each other. But over there, the better players, Rashford, and like despite his form being bad, like he's better player than Ahmad, you would say, and the same goes for Garnacho. But I mean, I won't go there, and I think the fixtures are mixed. But like I think in like 3 or 4, I think game week 9, game week 10, then there's a nice little run. So yeah, kind of Ahmad could be an option there. Then we're talking about mid-price brackets, a bracket of players. I think there's a couple of interesting options. So Maddison, I think, is Spurs have got a nice run. I would say, with attacking kind of potential. Maddison's there. One of the reasons to wildcard for me was to jump off Liverpool players, but like Diaz is looking very, very good kind of value, right? He's looking very good. He's gone up a level. He was good underlines last year, but he's gone up a level in terms of underlines and just like kind of like converting kind of chances. Yeah, I think in that kind of system, he's not really going to be rotated. He's going to be subbed, but not rotated with Gakpo, just because he's and Jota, because he's just a better player. Like he's just a better player. So like people went Jota and have been like, oh, Nunes has started. Nunes is a better player than Gakpo, right? And Jota is not as good.
I'm convinced.
Yeah, but
I don't matter. I get your point. I get your point.
But then and then also like Diaz is a better player than Jota as well. So like I think he's going to start for the foreseeable future. So I think there's very good value, right? I think you're looking at him and like his output is like a 9.5 midfielder. He's playing like a 9.5 midfielder, right? So even though the fixtures are mixed, there's the next 2 or 3 are pretty good, and yeah, it seems like Liverpool are looking very good, right? So Diaz is definitely a kind of consideration. I don't want to be led too much by fixtures. And Mbeumo, we spoke about him, he's nailed. Saka, we spoke about him, he's nailed.
On Saka, before we jump off Saka, and before I ask you the question, which has come from the skip, big shout out to Thomas Jones. He's in the chat, Matt. Evening to you, Thomas. Thomas has been on pretty much there since episode 1, if I'm not mistaken. So nice to have you with us, Thomas. But the skip has asked, when considering Saka, do you think Havertz is worth the extra saving instead of Saka? So would you ever envisage a world where you go Havertz instead of Saka, or is it?
I'd go both. I'd go both, but I don't think I'd go without Saka. He's just got lots of ways to a return, right? And I think he's proved it this season, right? He hasn't had a penalty yet, but he's on penalties. He's on pretty much all set pieces, and he's just very good at attacking, right? So I think he's on more routes to a goal, and there's no one who, like, I mean, Havertz, I'm not saying he's a rotation, but there could be an odd game that he gets dropped for Jesus, right? I think there could be a game where he gets put into the midfield, right? Trossard is out next game week, right? So there could be a game that I think Havertz is a great option, right? But yeah, the Ødegaard injury spooked me a little bit. If it wasn't for that, he'd been nailed in all my drafts. But I think it's Saka and Havertz rather than Saka or Havertz, in my opinion. Good question, mate. And then other options in that mid-price bracket, I've said in Boom, I've said Diaz, said Maddison. Bowen is there. I was quite, as you know, probably like 2 game weeks ago, I was pretty hot on Bowen. I think just West Ham look really bad, right? And he's not on set pieces, right? So you're just paying a fair amount of money for a West Ham striker. Yeah, I don't know. I think he is I'll consider him. And then I might sound mad, but two guys I think have got okay fixtures and they play 90 minutes all the time. Yeah, Bruno Eze still think that
Tweedledee and Tweedledum. What did you call them? The Chuckle Brothers. Not too much.
I
Still
love
on your
paying,
list.
I mean, still, yeah, they're still on my mind. I'd love to be able to squeeze them, but then my obviously question I have to say to myself is, would I prefer Fernandez or Diaz? Now, it sounds quite clear kind of answer in terms of out points and output. Bruno's been all right. Yeah, Diaz outperformed in stats wise. Diaz is getting benched 65 minutes rather than playing the whole 90. I don't know. But Diaz is surrounded by far better players. I mean, that's probably the kind of like crux of it.
Well,
I think still valid.
About inflicting pain, by the way, just whilst we're on it, you're talking about inflicting pain on yourself. So Thomas Jones, 66 points this week, not a wild card, hasn't owned Haaland at all this season. So his question for you: do I need professional help as I clearly enjoy inflicting pain on myself on a weekly basis?
It depends what rank you are now, but I think people just about gotten away with it, right? Because I think if people didn't have Haaland, right, I presume you've had Salah and captain him for that like run where he was matching him in points, right? So I mean, now's the time to jump on. I think actually, if you look, game week 6, Saka's an argument for captaincy. After that, it's like the next 8 game weeks. This is Haaland by far.
Stop.
And like unlike previous seasons, it seems like now the bonus points changes. If he gets any sort of return, he's going to get a free bonus, right? Which does help.
Yeah, like today.
Yeah, it does help. Right? It does help. Like 9 is a big old horse. So I think get him in kind of ASAP. So yeah, I think yeah, Saka's there. I think Son. There's a valid argument for Son. I think kind of short term where you can like jump off him. The Man City midfielders at the moment are no-go. I mean, I've not been shy about not rating Foden as a player nor an FPL asset. But I think their team is better without him, right? At the moment, it's just more balanced.
He didn't look great when he came on today. Didn't look fantastic.
No, he's been out.
He didn't get long.
He's had some illness, but the first half when it was like 11 against 11, City looked really good because they just had Doku and Savinho as proper wingers. And you've got Gundogan and Bernardo in the middle who are like quite disciplined and controlled, right? So I don't know who the midfielder is there. So if injuries emerge, right, we'll see. But like I think City midfielders at the moment, unfortunately, a bit of a no-go. They do have a really nice run game week 8 onwards. So like we'll see if something happens there. I think Salah is a no-go now, just with the mixed fixtures for Liverpool. And like he's been quite lucky with his returns, and I've benefited from that. He hasn't had a penalty yet. Fine, neither lots of penalty takers, but he's been fortunate with the amount of points he's got for sure. And Diaz has looked better. So I think Salah, I think it's just too expensive now. Looking at the fixtures for Liverpool, they had a great first 5 game weeks. Now they're mixed, right? So I think it's too expensive. Palmer, if you want to play that smart game where you're jumping in and out, if you want him for 2 game weeks, 3 game weeks, cool. But then, as you were saying a couple of minutes ago, difficult run. So yeah, wouldn't go there. Son, there's a point. Yeah, there's a conversation to have about Son. I think he hasn't looked good, but like when he has returned, it's been big points for us, right? So I think Son is a valid option. But yeah, for me, it's just like Saka is that kind of one premium and then a whole mix of like cheaper midfielders and mid-price ones. I think is the kind of short list. And then up front, I think there's some interesting options, right? So I think João Pedro looked injured, didn't he? And like,
they do have whack as well when he was on the pitch and looked like he was potentially going to go off. He was hobbling for a bit.
Oh, exactly. So yeah, it looked like he could have got injured again. And then Brighton's fixtures are pretty mixed, right? At best, he's got a great price point, but I think I'm probably not going to go there. But yeah, cheaper strikers. There's options, there's options. So you've got João Pedro is still an option. Calvert-Lewin's an option, of course. As is Wood. So Wood, yeah, obviously I was a bit disparaging about him early in the season, right? But he's been really good. Yeah. So hold my hands up there like that. Like not going Mooney's and then going João Pedro instead of Wood was a mistake. But yeah, him looking really good and him being on pens, like I just like Forest looking very good despite
Yeah.
somewhat tough fixtures. They've had like a kind of mixed run of fixtures. Yeah, I think Wood is a really valid and really interesting option. So there's some nice cheap options there. And then when you go into the mid-price bracket, there's three really nice options, right? There's Jackson, who's been putting up some good numbers and getting the returns, right? And like obviously people think Nkunku or Jackson. Is obviously Jackson is his place to lose, right? And he's been doing well, so it's not like he's like last season when he hasn't done anything. And then Havertz is an option, but as per like the chat, like I think a couple of weeks ago, my front three would have been Visa, Havertz, and Haaland, no doubt. But I think Ødegaard being out is like spooked me a little bit, just in case there's some games where Havertz plays as the 8 and then Jesus plays as the 9. He's still very good option. But I like Solanke as well. I think when he has played this year, he's looked really, really good. He's played like 90 minutes when he has played as well. And like, Spurs have got decent players behind him to create chances, right? So you've got Maddison there to just feed him chances, right? So Solanke is a really interesting option who he could be on penalties, right? I mean, that's complete speculation, but I think Son looks like he loves having them. So like, he might be on pen. So I think Solanke is a valid option. And Haaland's a lock. So that's I'll probably spend far too long talking about that. But I think that's like
it's good to know your thought process on all the positions.
So really it can be any. So like you put two options that I've just been playing around with like this afternoon, like as example. So very similar teams that you can see. There's a couple of like players that I'm focusing on, all of them from that shortlist. So one has Flecken as a keeper, one has Raya as the keeper, right? Both got Gabriel, Grease, and Van der Berg, right? From Brentford. Both have Trent. One has Saliba. One has Gvardiol, right? I think I probably prefer a double Arsenal. Yeah, well, they both got double Arsenal defense, and it's just what flavor is better. And then midfield one's got a nice option in that. I've got like a rotating 8th attacker. So I've got Rodgers, Mbumo, Saka, Semenyo, and Diaz as a midfielder. The other one has got Rodgers, Mbumo, Saka, Vinks, and Luis Diaz. So obviously the downside of that one is that you're relying on playing Rodgers every single week, right? Which isn't a bad bet, but like, hey, it might be cool to have some flexibility. And then both at the moment have got the same forward line really. So I mean there's two variants. The two variants there. One has got a 4.5 mid versus like a Semenyo there, and one has got Flecken over Raya really. So you can kind of see how structurally you can play around with like things around the edges to give you different options. I mean, another option would be like Calvert-Lewin if he was down to a João Pedro. It's not much of a difference in price, but hey, you can kind of stretch that kind of budget to bring someone else in. So you could João Pedro, and you could stretch the Carvalho over a Vinks on that team on the right hand side. So there's stuff that if you do want Gvardiol, you could want to play that risk with Lewis. That frees up some money there. But as in a way, I was struggling in midfield, particularly. I was struggling to spend my money really.
It's tough. It's interesting. It looks as though Tom Jones and Tom Jones. I think we've asked you this before, Thomas. Do you go by Tom? Let us know. But Thomas Jones and John Stewart both going same as you, mate. Looks like they're both going 2 Arsenal defenders. Big question from Simply Luke for you, just to throw it in: DCL and Semenyo, or Wood and McNeil, or Pedro and Semenyo? So I'll read them to you again. So would you rather have DCL and Semenyo, Wood and McNeil, or Pedro and Semenyo?
I'd say the last option is the worst, just because of like Pedro's fixtures. And like a bright side of the season, they were amazing. I think they've like dialed down a little bit. I'm not so hot on their attack as I was. He does have that rotation threat, doesn't he? There is Welbeck and there is Ruta can play as a 10 as well. So I think he's quite critical to their team, but he could lose minutes. So I don't know that minutes risk has kind of disappeared. McNeil and Wood, or Semenyo and Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
It's really tough, isn't it? That's a proper 50-50, really, because Forest are better than Everton at this moment in time.
Yeah.
They've both got great runs of fixtures. Semenyo, the issue with him is like I'd probably favour the Wood and McNeil because I just think it's got more longevity. Semenyo depends on the rest of the team, of course. I think if you got a Rodgers or someone like that to rotate with him, then cool. But Semenyo fixtures, they go bad after the next 2 game weeks. Lovely because you got Southampton at home, but then it's like a bad run, right? He's got Arsenal, City, Liverpool, everyone from what I remember. So I think I'd for longevity purposes, I'd go McNeil and Wood.
Yeah. It added in. You can only afford one of those options. Ideally, Wood and Semenyo, but can't afford it. So yeah, there you go. Wood and McNeil. Wood and McNeil's the shout. Skip's playing a different game.
Yeah, McNeil's been good, like. And McNeil, like, he's not a glamorous player, right? Neither is Wood, but they've both been putting up numbers.
Putting in the points. Yeah, absolutely. Putting in the points. The Skip's playing a different game. The Skip's going, it looks as though 2 starters up top. So playing with a 4.5 striker, Solanke and Haaland. I'm assuming the Skip, that means you're spending all of your budget across your 5 in the midfield. Looking at these two, Matt, that you've got, I don't appreciate you just playing around with it all. You've got Guardiola, and I've seen Guardiola in a lot of teams. Like, how assured are you that you're probably going to start game week 6 with a City defender in your team?
No, I'm not. I think the good thing with City defenders is like you can wait a week if you wanted to as well, right? And something can happen, right? Like Newcastle away isn't a great fixture. I mean, like Newcastle haven't been great, right? But they do have good attackers, right? They've got Gordon, they've got Bruno, they've got Isak, right? And historically, they've been good at home. And City are finding a way to concede. So I think Guardiola was the pick, right? Just because of Ake's injury. But yeah, obviously, structurally, I'll be starting the same 3 defenders every single week, right? Guardiola, Trent, Gabriel, on that example on the right. I don't really. Van de Beek is okay if he's playing, right? So I don't know. I mean, looking at this now, I probably think the left. I'll have to look at the attacking rotation to see like Semenyo versus Rodgers because I don't know. I'd have bench headaches like throughout, right? Like I can't bench Semenyo, can I? Against Southampton home. So what would that be? I'd bench Rodgers. That's giving me a bit. That'll give me a bit of a headache.
Challenge.
Yeah, like. But yeah, like a City defender, I think you can go with that. But I think it's Vardio or like Lewis if you can accommodate that like flexibility elsewhere to have like good cover if he doesn't play. I'm fine going for just Haaland despite City's good fixtures. I'm happy to. I think their peak fixtures come game week 8 or game week 9 onwards, so I'm happy to have Haaland and then like make a jump and like in a good way. Arsenal's great fixtures in the next 3. Then they have a little mixed run. So you can do a jump from Saliba or Gabriel to one of those guys if you wanted to, if you were that way inclined.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever get, because obviously every man and his dog's going to have Haaland, right? If they haven't already. I think he's over 70% owned now. Will there come a point, maybe, simply Luke says, thanks, by the way, for the advice. Will there become a point in which you might bring in a second City attacker? I know you were saying a minute ago you're not a fan of any of their midfield right now. Could you see that changing?
Or it would just be a run of someone playing every single game week and probably triggered by injuries, right?
Yeah.
Because what have you got? You've got they've got like 4 attacking midfielders and they have various flavors, right? But then you've got De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Foden, Doku, Grealish, Savinho. Obviously, Bob is injured, but like, you got Bob like as well. I think there's another like lad in there. So you're like 8 players going for 4 positions, and like I think Savinho and like all their chances just funneled to Haaland. No one else scores. Like they're all kind of like tactics to funnel him the ball. He gets insane underlying stats and insane returns, right? So I need to see a little bit more, probably an injury to like competition as well, right? So Savinho could be an interesting option because I think it's quite obvious he's the best right midfielder they've got.
Good assist today.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And when he started, he's looked dangerous in every single game. Has put up okay stats. I think he would be the one. I mean, who's competing with him really? Bernardo, I guess.
But you've also do you think Bernardo Silva because I think Bernardo Silva started every game so far.
No, he was benched last week, I think.
Was he? He? Okay.
And the thing is, there's great options elsewhere, right? And Mbumo's better than all those City options. Saka's better than all those City options. Diaz is probably at this stage is far better than them. I see a Bowen and a Maddison probably are just because of the short starts, right? So I think it's they'll probably have to will have to change to get in a City midfielder. But that's fine because we've all played. Most of us have probably played the game for a while, and it's been quite a historic. It's been quite a trend for City players that even though they've been the best team for like the last 4 or 5 years, so not been many. It's been very rare that you've been able to get 3 players in, right? There's been stages where you can have De Bruyne when he's just like younger and fitter, Aguero when he was fit. You'd have Cancelo, right, when he was like playing because he just had that kind of run. But it's been very rare that you'd be able to get 3 players in. So I think you can relax.
Been stung by it too much, mate. Getting in those play Walker last season did me, and if I had Walker this season, I'd be absolutely fuming. Thomas Jones is in agreement with you, by the way. It looks as though he's bringing in Haaland, DCL, and Solanke. That'd be his 3 on a wildcard, but Havertz and Watkins are up for consideration. And FOMO's joined us. FPL FOMO, welcome, mate. You were top of the FPL Apprentice League about 2 weeks ago, so some groundwork to get yourself back on the top. But like you're under consideration. FOMO has somehow ended up keeping Eze on the wild card. But again, you don't hate that.
No, the Bruno is the other one that I kind of like, and it's just that peace of mind, right? Having someone is the best player for their team and will always play 90 minutes. I think with Eze, 2 things have shifted in my mind. One is he's not on penalties. Like why will Mateta give it back to him now once he's scored? He's not.
Yeah, true.
He's not, right?
And he's a lot bigger than him as well, isn't he?
Exactly. But when you've seen it happen in loads of teams, right? When someone does that and they score, then they just kind of start to kind of take them. And Palace just haven't been very good. And maybe I underestimate the impact of Elise kind of leaving. But Eze in every game, he's just been surrounded by 4 or 5 players. That's really tough. Yeah. He's good, but he isn't that good.
He should have scored against United. At least 1, potentially 2. Got into some good positions.
Not really. But I mean, yes, and he's underperforming. But what was sold at the beginning of the season is not the case anymore.
Yeah,
it's a pretty decent Palace side, and he's on penalties, which it's not the case. But yeah, I think I don't hate him. I think he's a very kind of valid option, right?
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the structures I got here, Eze will be a really cool option. On the team on the left, I could get in Eze for a Semenyo if I downgraded one of those premium defenders. I don't hate that. I could get a Quance or something like that, and then have another 4.5 and Eze there. That's a nice little setup. On the team on the right, let's just play around with a few ideas. I could get rid of Luis Diaz for Eze, and then I was going to say I could get Watkins, but I couldn't squeeze to Watkins from Solanke. But I could shuffle around the rest of the team and then maybe get a Watkins over Solanke. And I think Solanke is a good option, but Watkins is probably still just a bit better than him. So Eze's a cool enabler, right? And he's a nice price point. So I say I'd give it 50-50 that I'd probably end up back on him.
he ended up when Nketiah went off. He ended up front. They seemed to change to a 4-4-2, and Eze was up top.
Yeah.
Mateta went off at half time, which was quite interesting. But yeah, it was just quite an interesting move. But you're right. Like if Mateta's on the pitch, Eze's not getting the pins. Mateta's far too big to argue with. But FOMO is on the wild card, as he says, keeping Eze, but his three strikers. You mentioned them all: DCL, Wood, and the lock that is Haaland. It's the 22nd of September, and Haaland's got 10 Premier League goals. By the way, that is insane.
Sure.
Right, spot on. Appreciate you running through them. I'll be. You've touched on most of the points, but I'll bring up my team.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
different. Where's your Danny
Yes, it is.
Welbeck?
It is slightly different. There's no Danny Welbeck. There might be a Danny Welbeck-esque player in here somewhere that you can pull out. But I'll run through my thoughts, and then you tell me what you think.
It's so similar, isn't it? Actually,
yeah, it's not too far off. So when you were talking through like every team should have this, I was looking through what I'd noted and ticking off as I went.
Yeah.
So I've got the 4 million defender and the 4 million keeper. I've got Gabriel. I've got Mbumo, I've got Saka, I've got Haaland. I've also got Semenyo. So I won't touch on them. You didn't mention Trent, but he was in both of your teams. I don't think it's any surprise why I've got Trent in there. Had him from the off. I see no reason to get rid. He's had 4 clean sheets. He's had an assist. He should have had more attack and returns than he's had. So yeah, I'm not moving him. My 4.5 million, I haven't kept Concert. I've kept Aina, and I've banged on all season about how good the Nottingham Forest defence is. Didn't show it today, but they've kept 2 clean sheets so far. And under Nuno, they are defensively, based on statistics, the 4th best defence in the division behind Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City. And they've got some nice fixtures. He also trades well with Brentford. Yeah, so I'm like, depending on which one you take here, I'm going to be playing Gabriel. I'm going to be playing Trent, and then just need one other. It's not going to be Greaves, so it's going to be an Aina or a Collins or Aina or Van der Berg.
Okay. Don't hate it.
So that's the way I'm going to be playing that. Touching on the keepers, I'm with you, mate. I'm more likely to go for a 5.5 and set and forget rather than a 4.5. But which one it is? I'm leaning towards Raya over Ederson. I trust it, especially after today. You know, we spoke about it. A 10-man Arsenal team for an entire half against the best attack in the division. I'm surprised City scored in the end. I didn't think it was going to come. So I'm probably going to go for Raya. Who else jumps out that we haven't touched on? Dibbling, John Stewart. If you're still in the chat, you'll be happy to see Dibbling's in my right one. I've spotted that little 4.5 million gem. There's my Welbeck, Matt. I've spotted that little 4.5 million gem. I just think it's a bit more exciting than Winks. So I pulled him in. But I suppose the main difference, mate, is I've gone for Watkins. I really like Watkins. If I look at the two, and William's thrown in a question, by the way, which I'll ask him about your team as well. Is your team to catch price rises or wildcard draft? I think what you had on the screen. That's
a genuine draft.
The team.
Like the team I've got live is I get price rises. So like players that are in my team now that I just wouldn't have.
Just to catch the prices.
I'm not going to have him on my team. McNeil, I highly doubt I'll have him. We're actually quite close to a team I would have, but there's a few price rise style like players in there.
No, I'm with you. So to answer you for you, William, but these teams that I've got on the screen are going to be when I come game week 6. These will be the team, but it's not who's in my team right now. If you looked, I'm trying to catch the prices, but kind of to touch on the left and right, like a pro and con, mate, and then I'll let you have your thoughts on it. This left option with Ederson in net leaves me 0 in the bank. I am bang on budget for this. But it allows me to attack the Arsenal fixtures. So I'll have 2 Arsenal attackers for Leicester at home, Southampton at home, and Bournemouth away, which I like. You can only keep 1 clean sheet. You can get more than 1 attack in return. So I like that. It gives me a City defender ready for game week 7 in Ederson, who's a guaranteed starter. Con, I might be focusing on one player here, doesn't give me Watkins. Second highest expected points for any striker in the game, and has got really nice fixtures up until game week 10. I can get money out of it that I haven't yet. So, I can do Collins to Van der Berg, and that would allow me to then maybe do Calvert-Lewin to Wood.
Yep.
Could also rotate. It leaves me a stronger bench because I'll either be benching Rodgers or Semenyo, and they rotate quite nicely.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it for that one. The one on the right, I'm left with 0.1 million in the bank, so I can accidentally miss a price move and still be able to afford it. Pro double Arsenal defense, because I think they're just going to keep at least 2 clean sheets, if not 3, in those next 3 fixtures. It also gives me Ollie Watkins for his nice fixtures. The con, I don't really have a bench at all. I'll be having Dibbling on the bench, Van der Berg, and Greaves, and there's no real. I don't really want any of them coming on the pitch. Sorry, John Stewart. I know you're a big Dibbling fan, but he's not really my number one. Again, I could make some other moves here, get some money out. So I could do Diaz to Bowen, Wood to Calvert-Lewin, and then that would allow Dibbling to become Rodgers, or I could increase Van der Berg or Greaves to a 4.5 million defender. If you were to hold the gun to my head now, Matt, I'd probably go up for the left one.
Yeah, I agree. I like the left. I like the left. I guess a couple of questions for you would be, Havertz, you confident he's going to play as a 9 the next 3?
Yeah. No.
Right, yeah. No.
That's why I want Watkins. I really want Watkins as that other striker.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things to think is kind of Havertz and like where he's going to play and how Arsenal are going to perform without Ødegaard. And that's like a pretty fundamental one. Probably as well, like I've got to consider this as well in one of my drafts is like the Rodgers Semenyo piece. Does that rotation and Calvert-Lewin, does that rotation work well? I haven't really checked that. I just looked at them. I looked at them as decent players in their own rights, but it's less valuable, right? If they've all got good fixtures in the same game weeks, right? I mean, who would you bench this coming game week?
This week? Well, that's it. That's a difficult one, right? Adam, it would be based on those fixtures. It'd be Rodgers.
I think Rodgers. I think psychologically, you think of him as a 4.5 midfielder, and it's a lot easier to do that. So I think maybe that's less of an issue. What else is there to see?
I'm just going to check
Collins, Van den Beek. Do you think Collins is just more nailed?
Basically, that's exactly that.
Why is that?
I just think he's a guaranteed, because he started every game so far, whereas Van der Berg's only come in for the last 2. And I'm looking at the players that are out injured. But to be fair, the Brentford defence, the 2 that are out injured long term. It appears, according to the app. So it was purely because he started all 5 games rather than just 2.
No, fair enough. Van der Beek did come. He came in at the
Liverpool sold him. Yeah, he came from Liverpool. So I should. You think I'd know based on him leaving my club. I still don't have the confidence.
Was he off loan? Sorry, was he on loan last year? Is it?
Yeah, we loaned him out. It was overseas somewhere. I don't know where. He's played like 2 games. John Stewart, you're a Liverpool fan. How many games did Van der Berg play for Liverpool? It'd be like if it's any more.
It's got to be none. It's got to be none. But was he playing for decent sides?
Germany, somewhere in Germany, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I could quite easily do that. I could bring him in. That'd give me 500,000, and then I need another 0.3 to get to Watkins.
Your side on the left is far better. Actually, thinking about it. Semenyo, you're going to hate having it. Obviously, what we all got to remember is you can do transfers, right? And some of us have transfers banked, right? So we don't have to be too obsessed, like long term, right? Next 3-4 game weeks, you probably want to be relatively comfortable with your team, right? Because we know injuries can come up and stuff like that, but like an opportunity is going to emerge that you just can't predict. But yeah, Simon, you're right. I think Semenyo, he might just start annoying you a little bit because let's be honest, he hasn't got had a track record. He plays for Bournemouth, right? They've had a good start, but it is Bournemouth. They're probably going to finish about 15th, right? 14th, 15th, right? If we're being honest, they're going to be a mid-table team. Semenyo hasn't got much of a track record. Like I know him time Bristol City, so I can't be too like biased about him. But like, he's had what, like half a season now of being good. Before
Yeah.
that, nothing. And then he has really difficult fixtures game week 8 onwards. So it's like you're going to hate that. You're going to be in a case where you kind of hate that quite quickly, and then it's going to be tough to move him away just because of that really cheap price point. You could jump into a McNeil or a Rogers or something like that, but it's like there's not a huge amount of options. Whereas, yeah, the team on the left, you've got that comfort blanket that hey, Rogers and him can just jump in and out and be interchangeable. So
Yeah, and I've
yeah,
had just looking at it now. Calvert-Lewin's a set forget, by the way. Calvert-Lewin will be going nowhere because his fixtures are fine until game week 15. So
well,
I'll just play him
historically,
until he gets
if
injured.
he's playing, he'll do well for that price point, right?
Yeah,
So I mean, it's just is he going to stay fit? So, but
yeah, and
you
that's
can't
it.
predict
That's
that.
it. Whereas Semenyo and Rogers, so their swing. So you could go Semenyo for the next two, Southampton and Leicester, and then when his fixtures turn, you bring in Rogers, who'll have Fulham and Bournemouth. And then it's game week 10. So Rodgers is away at Spurs. Semenyo is at home to City. But then after that, Semenyo's fixtures turn again. So he goes Brentford, Brighton, Wolves, Tottenham, Ipswich, West Ham, yada, yada, yada.
So,
So it's only game week 10. That's a problem.
well, yeah, exactly. So that's the team on the left, though, right? The team on the right, you'll have 3 or 4 game weeks of problems.
More
Right?
headaches.
So
Far more headaches.
look at this. I think the team on the left makes a lot more sense. I think I challenge myself around yourself around Collins. Can that be Van den Beek? Does that save some money? Have a bit more flexibility? Or can it be like a
How should I
concert?
get
There's
to Watkins?
a better team, like a concert. Like Brentford are not a very good defense.
No, it's true. It's true. It's playing the fixtures because I know they've got a nice run. But yeah, I don't. Have they kept a clean sheet yet? I don't think they have. Even at home to Southampton, when it looked like they were going to, they lost it in the 94th minute.
I check a
I
bit
knew
more on
John had
that.
come, by the way. I knew John had come good. John
Yeah,
Stewart. What John Stewart doesn't know about Liverpool isn't worth knowing. So Van der Vaart played no 1 or 2. Went to Mainz last season. Did very well in top 10 centre backs in the Bundesliga for dual wins. He'll become a key defender for Brentford later this season. There you go.
yeah. I think he's got a bit of credibility down here, Van der Beek. Like, there's a reason why he's been bought in when you've got me, Collins, and those guys anyway. So I think the suggestion
Yeah.
when he came in was he'd be a starter, long-term starter, right? So, I mean, I'm quite cool with him. But yeah, I think Van der Beek makes us a lot of sense because he's 4.0, so structurally just helps a lot of teams. But like Collins, yeah, I don't have to force a Brentford player because of the fixtures, right? Like, yeah, I would like, yeah, I would compare it to a Pau Torres or Concert and challenge
Yeah.
yourself, or a cheaper defender.
If I can make Havertz Watkins, mate, I'm all over it. That's what I want. That's it. And I'll probably do Edison Raya instead of Edison if I'm honest. Like on that for that left team as well. But
I guess how would you get to Watkins? You would downgrade Rodgers to Carvalho. He's what, 4.7.
yeah, and then Collins would come down, and that'd be it. That'd get me. Because yeah, if I've got Watkins, I don't need Rodgers, right? Uh,
Yeah, but I think the left team is better. I think there's a lot of emphasis on Havertz's next 3.
FOMO's thrown in. FOMO is basically my defense on the left here. So FOMO's got Collins, Aina on wildcards on his wildcard.
Yeah.
Very good rotation to go with Gabriel, Trent, and a 4.0. So, a question for you then, FOMO, if you let us know. So, why have you gone Collins over a Van der Berg? Just out of interest, just based on the chat there. Um, yeah, appreciate the advice, Matt. Appreciate the advice, and we'll obviously pick up next week to see which one we've ended up on, and we'll both post on Twitter. If you're not following us on Twitter, you want to know where we've ended up, you can get me at FPL_apprentice1, or you can get Matt, which is probably the team you want to follow more than mine, but that's at FPL Corbs. Should see it under our videos as well. But one last thing to discuss, as we always do, Matt, which is the best captain option. Now we're both going to end up with Saka. So I'm pretty sure we're probably both going to captain Saka, right? But do you think anybody else is in the mix?
Yeah, I think there's a serious conversation to have just around Haaland. Of
Yeah,
course. Like,
Well, interestingly, Saka and Haaland are the only players to have returned in every single game week so far.
yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, there's always questions about Saka with his ceiling, right? Seems to be about he'll get what, a goal or an assist, or maybe a goal and assist. But like, he won't have those violent returns like that Haaland has.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, yeah, predicted points. Like, after form of view on Newcastle defense, I don't know where my head is at.
Well,
whether they're a great defense. Well, they're not. That I can tell you that. But to what extent are they bad?
so on this, okay. So FOMO's come in. So yeah, I think he's got a similar thought to me. Collins might be just more assured. So it'll be interesting to see how Van der Berg gets on. If he keeeps playing.
I'm trying to convince myself that he's a good option. I think just because of price point.
I mean, if you've got 3 playing anyway, I mean, you've had Barco since game week 1, and it's not done you any problem. So I suppose another 4.0 isn't the worst thing in the world. But Saka, so looking at expected goal involvement per 90, Saka compared to Haaland nearly doubles them. So Saka's on 0.64, Haaland's on 1.26. So Haaland is. I mean, it's probably not going to surprise anybody, right?
He's been good, Saka, but like, yeah, his returns have been lucky. As probably Haaland's have been, but like, on the line stats, you said are twice as good. But
twice as good.
Function
the teams are playing.
Yeah, it's the function of the teams they're playing.
But I've got stats for you there as well. So the teams they're playing. Expected goals conceded per 90 for Leicester this season, 1.79. Expected goals conceded per 90 for Newcastle this season, 2.07.
Well, so they're both bad.
Caveat. So they're both bad. So Haaland's better at getting returns than Saka, and the Newcastle defence is worse than Leicester's, technically. Now, caveat. When you look at Leicester away from home, that expected goals conceded per 90 jumps to 2.28. Newcastle at home, looking at Leicester away, it's 2.28. When you look at Newcastle at home, their defence is slightly more assured, so it's only 1.62 goals per 90 that they're expected.
Okay. But
they're playing City.
Yeah, it does shine like that. Like, hey, there's not a huge difference in these teams. I mean, like, the stats you got there are useful there, but it's such a small sample size, especially when you're splitting between home and away. It's so biased towards
it's like 2 or 3 games.
And like, there'll be game state stuff with Shah's like red card and stuff like that in it. But that's useful info. Like, I think it's pretty close. So yeah, I think it'll be a tough one.
If I was holding I'm not going to commit you to this. I appreciate on Saturday when the deadline hits, you might have changed this. But if I was holding a gun to your head right now, which one of the two you're captaining?
Yeah, probably Saka. Just like the home games are appealing, so yeah, Saka just. I think it's close.
Do you think he'll take pens? Is this season's anything to go by, pal? Probably not.
I don't think he's going to like. Pens are just down, aren't they? Full stop. No, there's not been many at all. So that old tactic of just loading up on penalty takers hasn't been really valid. Like, but it doesn't help when the pen takers you pick aren't actually on pens. But yeah, like surely you'll be on them. Yeah.
Hopefully. But yeah, that brings us to the end, pal. No, this is the first live one. We basically film it and then just put out. There's no editing involved. We just film it and put it out.
One and done every time.
That's it. One and done. But it's been pretty cool getting people throwing in questions. So, have you enjoyed it? First live review, first live show, even.
Yes. Is that me?
That's you. Yeah, for you.
Been good getting the questions in, right? Kind of like lots of interesting stuff and things I wouldn't have thought about anyway. Plus, and it keeps you and I honest, right? Let's be honest. It was you and I just chatting about a wild card. We've done 1 hour 45 minutes rather than wrapping up in 1:20. I think
it is good. It is good. I'm going to bring this off, but I'll bring it back on. So, for those of you that are with us, thank you very much. We'll appreciate you spending your Sunday evening with us rather than with your families. So thanks for doing that. It's not often we do it on a Sunday, but I appreciate work commitments this week for us both have meant it's the only day we can really get together. You're away for 2, then I'm away for 2. So doing it on the Sunday. But for anybody that is with us, if you're going to do the whole spiel that I always do, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do click the subscribe button. We are 1 away from 750. So if you're watching, you haven't subscribed, it's free to do. Does help us out. It'd be nice just to get to that 750 during this stream. So please hit that button if you haven't to subscribe. I'm not even going to ask you to click the bell like everybody else. Just to subscribe would be ace. If you are following us on Twitter, thank you for doing so. If not, get on there and we'll make sure we put our teams up by Saturday. But thank you for joining us. And no doubt, not to say we'll do it live week in, week out, but I've enjoyed it, Matt. Do you think we'll do a couple more of these at some point?
Yeah, mate. Well, I think all the administrative burdens on you, right? So it's cool to me. I'd do it every week, if it's up to me, like. But
we might well.
You got a schedule,
we might well. So. Yeah, no, I don't mind scheduling. Well, as long as we might well do that. But no, I appreciate you being with us, mate. Appreciate you spending your Sunday evening. Enjoy your very busy work days tomorrow and Tuesday. But I'll pick up with you. I'll pick up with you next week, mate. We'll no doubt we'll text on Friday just to show each other our final drafts as well. But appreciate your time.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And midweek games, I think, coming up. So
midweek games. Eyes on.
I hope they're uneventful, but actually some like events can make it a bit easier with your decisions, right? So
all we want, mate, is we want all the people that wildcarded in game week 4 to get a lot of injuries this week. That's what we want to see. The players that we might have bought in, because we've got the power.
What would their teams been like? Liverpool heavy, I'm guessing.
Liverpool heavy. I saw quite a few with who's just had some really good fixtures. Yeah, Brighton. Quite a few Pedros and Dunks and so on.
Watkins.
So I've been keeping him. I'm desperate to get to him, so I'm okay with that.
Not that he would play in the midweek, but that just opened Duran as an option, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It might be an option anyway. Tom says thanks for a great stream and keep them coming. So
thank you, mate.
Appreciate it, Tom. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, I'm chatting nonsense now, so I'll let you go, mate. Thank you to you, the listener, as well for joining us. We'll maybe do this live again next week. We'll see. Or record it and post it as usual. But I appreciate your time. Whatever you do, whether you are on the wildcard, whether you're just doing transfers, may your arrows be green as ever. Last thing to Joan Pouts, John Stewart, we made it Sunday night. Thank you very much, John, for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you next time, everybody. But best of luck for the upcoming game week. And we'll catch you on the other side. I've lost my theme tune. There it is. See you later.